Hello, Aries. Thank you so much, as always, you guys, for being here. Okay, Aries, so looking at your second week of December, you pulled sacrifice, perception, and forgetting oneself. This had a feeling of a point of view being pushed on you that I don't think is really how you see things. But you may have been like sacrificing parts of yourself to see things a certain way to benefit someone else or to benefit a certain situation. But there's something about it that's detrimental. And now you're being asked to kind of like let that go. So sacrifice, it's not just about, sacrificing something here. It's about letting go of something for your own benefit. That's really what that one talks about. But perception, right? It's easy enough to tell somebody you need to look at things differently, but I think it's a perception in particular that may be affecting you and acting and making you act in a way that I don't think is true to who you really are, or what you really believe, or how you really see things. So perception says residue from past experiences, the roles we currently play, and our desires and goals for the future can all color the way that we perceive. It says by being mindful of these potential influences, we can be free from their limitations. And it talks about stepping back and kind of like getting a bigger picture on why this is taking place. But forgetting oneself, this is where I feel like, this is something that was handed to you. It's not necessarily the way that you see things, but you may have picked this up because of a person or a past experience, right? And there's that need to let it go. It says time as an eternal present, not fleeting but locked. No progress is no regress either. And then it says eating the lotus flower, numbing our identity to go by the sound of a music that was never ours. So needing to let go of a certain point of view that isn't true to who you are. Now, for some of you, it may be that, whatever you have experienced has given you a certain perception that is detrimental to you. And that's where, the sacrifice is needing to happen. But it still goes back to this feeling of something being handed to you that really isn't true to how you see things, but you may have picked it up unknowingly. And then the question becomes, how is that affecting you? Because if it was positive, you wouldn't be asked to be, needing to let it go. That sacrifice wouldn't be required, right? Your overall, the moon. So, confusion, fear, anxiety, having to look at things in the dark. But this is, things not really being clear, needing to have some kind of clarity over something that has been like hidden. And I don't mean like hidden intentionally, but something that you may have been hiding from yourself. But we'll see here. Wow, man. In the past, the high priestess. Okay. So with her being the past, we're talking about a knowing, like you know. This is trusting the intuitive guidance from past situations. The problem is there may still be some things that were not made clear. And I think that there's a part of you that kind of already knows what it's all about. But it's more of like trusting what you know to be true. But this is like secrets, hidden information. The problem is the moon being the overall here, you're dealing with some confusion over some things that were not exactly brought out in the open. And the present, the King of Wands. Okay, so if we're talking about a person here, because of the moon being the overall, it very much could be this feeling of being attracted to someone who I don't want to say has like a lot of secrets, but isn't really an open book. Now, the other part of that though too, the King of Wands, especially for Aries, it's really great in terms of like initiating something. The King of Wands has that experience when it comes to, following passion, right? Where it leads you. You have a passion for something, he knows how to make it happen, right? And kind of shows people the way. But I almost feel like a sense of confidence and knowing what you're dealing with. And that may have to do with someone in particular. But we'll see what's going on here because there's still like this lack of clarity. Oh boy. Okay. Future conditions, the Seven of Swords. So here's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this. When it comes to like the not understanding, it's like, how did I not see like the red flags, so to speak? So unfortunately, in the present moment, you may feel like you know what you're dealing with somebody, but I don't want to say it's going to be a surprise, but more so a confusion of, how was this person able to hide these things? Now, for some of you, right, if we're talking about this intuitive knowing coming in from the past with the High Priestess, there may be this passion and drive in the present moment to initiate something, but we're looking at not being out in the open about it. Now, I don't want to say that there's like this intention on your part not to be clear about things, but it's almost like I would rather not talk about it because I kind of have my plans laid out. The problem is, again, there's, this needing to see things clearly with the moon, which makes me feel like I trusted somebody, but now I'm kind of confused as to how I didn't see this. It's almost like I should have seen this, I should have expected this. Because with the Seven of Swords, you're talking about somebody who is being deceitful, not being open and honest about intentions. Typically, it shows somebody who really doesn't care about what they're doing to another. It's more about what they can get away with. I want to see how what's going on in your environment is attached to that. So your best path to follow, the Six of Wands. So I feel like, even though the moon here is the overall, I think that something about this is going to come out in a way that's going to make you question what you thought that you knew possibly about somebody. The thing is here is we're talking about victory over the situation, but, doing the right thing and being recognized for that. That to me seems to be the most important part of the Six of Wands, right? So, there is a way to overcome this. And it's not about like questioning your own intuition. It's just, okay, now I'm seeing the bigger picture on this, and this would be choosing to not let it affect you in such a way that it causes any kind of like suppression with the moon, because that's the other thing, right? Like, this is what we keep in the dark. But I really get a feeling from this. This is like, I thought I knew what I was dealing with. And I think that there's a part of you that kind of knew the potential here, but there's still this like trying to understand things clearly. And it may be that that's what you need to let go of, right? But here, the path of victory and overcoming this and getting the right kind of attention that you deserve, rather than, dealing with people who are just interested in what can you do for me, right? Okay, so, You know, it seems exciting, right? Like with the Page of Wands and the environment, this is, you know, this kind of communication coming in that you want to hear. This is, you know, the exciting news. This is what gets you going. There's this like passion and drive, but, you know, we're talking about somebody on the surface who seems to have it together, but they may be, you know, immature in the way that they communicate, or in the way that they, you know, take advantage of new opportunities. But I think for you, this was like, you know, the kind of communication that you had been hoping for or expecting, you know, from someone in particular here. But there's this immaturity that's happening. And the only reason why that's being pointed out is because of these two, right? Your hopes and your fears, the Four of Cups, you know, and this is kind of where I feel like with perception and kind of going back to your oracle cards, if you're looking at things like this is no different than what I've experienced before, or I just don't have any excitement or any feeling for this, right? Like, if that's how you're looking at this, or if this is how you're kind of feeling about dealing with someone and their words and like what they're saying, like it's not exciting you, even though on the surface, it's funny, it's like on the surface, yeah, it may have been what you wanted. But what I feel like here is that it's not about sacrificing this point of view. It's about letting go of any point of view that makes you think that you feeling this way isn't right. Now, you know, the fear there would be that nothing new is going to be gained from this. So it may be that this is somebody that you've been dealing with for a while, not necessarily a new person. You come into this, though, with this like knowing and understanding, but yet you're still dealing with this kind of like deception and the like trying to cover up the truth almost. But you're trying to find clarity in it, and you're trying to overcome this situation though too. But I think that, you know, if this is your perception on, you know, dealing with somebody that you already know, like, I don't want to say that you're intentionally ignoring red flags. It's just that I think for you, there may be this kind of confusion as to why you keep doing this. But I don't think that the perception there is wrong. I just think that it needs to be looked at. You know, if you're not feeling anything for this, because this is like, I'm not interested. Now, you know, the other part of this though too is like falling into an emotional slump where you're like, yeah, you know, I should have known. And you did though. But really, really, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at you, you know, doing the right thing for yourself. And whether or not that gains you like better attention or better recognition, I don't think really matters. Because I'm looking at this and thinking, do people around you really understand what's really going on? You know? Ugh. Coming out the Page of Swords, not a fan. Not a fan. Ugh. You know, and that may be where the moon is coming in though too, because I look at the Page of Swords as like half the story. It's not the information that you want to hear. And there may be something else going on that you're like trying to uncover or understand, where you're pulling on this like already knowing. But I really think it's just time to let that go, especially if you're feeling that way. Temperance. So, sorry, Aries. the star, wow. So having patience with the situation, kind of keeping things to yourself with the High Priestess and what you know to be true. But there's this hope with the star. And then Cheeseman, all majors. And then you come out with the Hangman, and that may have to do with, you know, some information that you're hearing that may be causing some kind of confusion, or you needing to understand, you know, why somebody is acting this way. But temperance, you know, patience, moderation, balance, maintaining, you know, inner peace and harmony. And meanwhile, you have this intuitive knowing and understanding of the situation that you're dealing with coming in from past situations, but you're not speaking about it. You just know. And then you move into the star with the King of Wands and the Page of Wands. This is like this kind of like reconciling communication, right? Like hope is being restored to the situation. But I think that, you know, for some of you with the Hangman, though, it feels like that patience that you have gained from whatever you're dealing with that's coming through, maybe putting you in a place of like holding off, and with the star looking at, you know, what are you really hoping for yourself or for this situation. But with the Hangman, it's like we're in limbo now. And this is where we have the change of perception, where things kind of get turned upside down, but that may be coming through some kind of information that isn't exactly what you want to hear. So it's not necessarily about there needing to be, you know, this truth uncovered about this deception going on, because you already know about it. That's the thing. But I think that that communication that eventually comes out about, you know, some things that clearly you were aware of, but you may not have been fully aware of the actions that were going on behind the scenes. I think it's when that communication comes out that you're like, okay, you know, what am I really hoping for from this situation? And more importantly, what are you hoping for yourself? And I don't feel like this feeling should be ignored. I don't think that that is a perception that has to be changed. But if that is the way that you're looking at things, it may be the situation itself that needs to be sacrificed. Because really, is this something that you would go along with? And again, you know, I kind of go back to this feeling of it doesn't belong to you. It's not necessarily how you view things. But for some reason, you've picked this up. And it may have to do with, you know, this person, this attraction that may be going on, right? And then also here, we're talking about somebody who may be having ego problems too. Transformation. Speak your truth. And, you know, with the Page of Swords coming out, yeah, to me, I kind of look at that as somebody who uses certain information to control a narrative. And this may be where it's like, okay, you know, let me just silence the bullshit here for a minute and speak the truth. And then you have assurance. And, you know, typically I smile when I see that, because it's like needing assurance from the universe, and it being like, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. But this is like this situation causing a transformation within you where you're not holding back on speaking your own personal truth anymore. And once that happens, there's this kind of assurance that comes through that, you know, you will be able to overcome the situation. Conclusions are within reach. And then work through your fears. Yeah, the moon being there. If you are in the process of reconciling with someone, you know, what I want to say here is that these are things that you already kind of know are you are already aware of about this person. Like there's already this knowing that's coming through. But this may be a situation where like you're getting involved with somebody who is intentionally put there to have your worst fears within relationships realized, if that makes sense. And this may be where we're needing to kind of overcome that. And, you know, sacrificing having this constant viewpoint on this person, on this situation. Because then that's where transformation will happen. You'll start to see the ending of this situation.